Imagine opening your budget and discovering that you've been losing $300 every single month. Not because you're overspending, not because you don't earn enough, and not because investing is too expensive. The money was already yours. Hidden inside subscriptions you forgot about, tax mistakes you're making every paycheck, and debt payments that are quietly draining your future. Today, I'm going to show you exactly where that money is hiding and how ordinary people earning between $50,000 and $80,000 a year can find an extra $200 to $400 every month for investing without getting a raise, starting a side hustle, or giving up everything they enjoy. Let's see how much money is hiding in your budget right now. If you're making between $50,000 and $80,000 a year, and you think investing more means you need to earn more firsty, this video is going to change how you see your finances. Because the money for extra contributions is already in your budget, it's just hidden. And today I'm going to show you exactly where to find it. I make videos for people who want to build real financial futures, not get-rich-quick schemes, not vague motivational advice. Just practical, tactical steps you can actually use. So if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button now, because today we're covering one of the most important topics I've ever brought to this channel. Let's start with some simple math. Say you're making $60,000 a year. That's $5,000 a month before taxes. After federal withholding, state taxes, Social Security, Medicare, you're probably taking home somewhere between $3,700 and $3,900. Standard situation for most people in that income range. Now the question, how much of that are you actually investing? If the answer is not much or basically nothing, you're not alone. Most middle-income Americans invest less than 3% of their income, but retirement calculators say you need 15. That gap is massive. And the obvious assumption is that the only way to close it is to earn more. But that's an illusion, because most people earning between $50,000 and $80,000 have somewhere between $200 and $400 a month that literally just disappears. Not on meaningful experiences, not on real quality of life. It just leaks out. And today we're going to track it down together. The first step is a subscription audit. I know, that sounds boring. It sounds like advice everyone gives and nobody actually follows. So let me give you a specific process that takes no more than 20 minutes and can unlock between $50 and $150 a month. Pull up your bank statement or credit card statement from the last 3 months. Print it or open it in a spreadsheet. Go through every single transaction and put one of 3 symbols next to it. A star if you use this regularly and it genuinely adds value to your life. A question mark if you're not sure. And an X if you honestly can't remember what it is or haven't touched it in months. Simple concept, but the results shock most people. The average American household spends somewhere between $170 and $240 a month on subscriptions. That's Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Spotify, Apple Music, Adobe Creative Cloud, some meditation app you downloaded in January, 2 different VPN services, an iCloud storage plan you forgot you upgraded, and something that's been auto-renewing since 2020. I'm not telling you to cancel everything. I'm telling you to keep what genuinely delivers value. Things you use multiple times a week. Everything else, cancel it. And not tomorrow, today. Because tomorrow you'll forget again. Let's also talk about premium tiers. A lot of people are paying for premium versions of services where the free or basic plan gives them 90% of the same thing. Spotify Premium at $10 a month. Do you actually need it? Or could you just flip your phone face down when you listen? YouTube Premium at nearly $14? Or could you just use an ad blocker? A gym membership at $50 to $80 a month that you visit once or twice? If you're serious about training, great. If not, that's not an investment in your health. That's a monthly guilt subscription. After this audit, a realistic savings for most people is somewhere between $70 and $120 per month. Write that number down. It's going to be part of our total at the end. Now, the second step, and this is probably the most underrated financial move for middle income earners, optimizing your tax withholding. Most people either over withhold all year or they get a big refund in April and treat it like a bonus. But it's not a bonus. It's your own money that you gave the government as an interest-free loan for 12 months. Here's how it works. When you fill out your W-4 with your employer, you're telling them how much to withhold from your paycheck for federal taxes. If you set it too high, the IRS gets a zero interest loan from you. If you're getting back more than $1,000 in April, that almost certainly means you're over withholding every single month. The average federal tax refund in the US is around $3,000. That's $250 a month you could have had in your pocket and invested it throughout the year. Instead, you get it all at once in April, spend it on something unplanned, and repeat the cycle every year. What to do? Go to the IRS website and use the tax withholding estimator. It's free, it's straightforward, and you just enter your income, filing status, deductions, and it tells you exactly what number to put on your W-4. Then go to HR and ask them to update your W-4 accordingly. This is a 20-minute fix you do one time, and starting the next pay period, you'll have more money in each paycheck. One important note, you want to calibrate carefully here. If you reduce withholding too aggressively, you could owe a penalty in April. The goal is to get as close to zero as possible, ideally owing nothing and getting nothing back. If you're unsure, talk to a CPA or use the IRS calculator. But for most people in the $50,000 to $80,000 range with standard deductions, this optimization puts between $50 and $200 extra dollars in your paycheck every single month. Now the third step, and this one is a little more psychologically complex, but mathematically it's the most powerful lever of the three. Strategic debt payoff sequencing. Most middle-income earners carry some debt. Student loans, credit cards, a car payment, maybe some medical debt. And the typical response is either to pay the minimum on everything or try to pay equal amounts across all debts. Both of these approaches cost you more money than they have to. Let's talk about the two main methods and when each one actually makes sense. First is the avalanche method. You list your debts from highest interest rate to lowest. You pay the minimum on everything except the top one. On the top one, you throw every extra dollar you can find. When it's gone, you roll everything into the next one. Mathematically, this is the most efficient approach because you're eliminating your most expensive debt first. Here's a real example. You've got a credit card at 24% APR with a $3,000 balance. You've got a student loan at 5% with $15,000 outstanding. If you pay equal amounts on both, the credit card is eating you alive. Throw all your extra money at the card, knock it out in 6 to 12 months, and suddenly you've freed up your minimum payment plus whatever extra you were throwing at it. That's $100 to $300 a month that didn't exist before. The second method is the debt snowball. You list debts from smallest balance to largest and pay off the smallest one first. Psychologically, this gives you quick wins and builds momentum. Mathematically, you'll pay a bit more in interest overall. But if you know yourself and you need that early motivation to stay in the game, the snowball beats doing nothing by a mile. Here's where it gets interesting, though. There's a strategy called debt stacking with an investment threshold. The idea is, if your debt's interest rate is below 7%, it may actually make sense to invest in parallel more because the market has historically returned more than that over the long run. If it's above 7%, pay off the debt first. Student loans at 4%, you can invest alongside paying those down. Credit card at 22%, no investing until that's gone. Now let me show you how this actually frees up money. Say you're paying a minimum of $150 on a credit card at 24% with a $2,500 balance. If you throw an extra $100 at it every month, you pay it off in 11 months instead of 23. You save over $400 in interest. And starting month 12, you have $250 a month that wasn't available before. That's where the investing snowball begins. You take those $250 in the very same month. You redirect them to your 401k or IRA. Not, I'll see how the month goes. Automatic transfer, the day after payday, before you even have a chance to think about spending them. Now let's put all three sources together and look at real numbers. Subscription audit. You cut the services you weren't using, downgraded a couple of plans, that's minus $75 a month. W4 optimization. Your paycheck is now $120 higher each month instead of overpaying the IRS. Strategic debt payoff. After 12 months, you've eliminated your credit card and freed up $150 a month. Combined total, $345 per month. Without a raise, without a side hustle, without giving up your daily coffee. So, where should these dollars actually go? Here's the recommended sequencing most fee-only financial planners use. First, if your employer offers a 401k match, contribute at least enough to capture the full match. If they match 5%, you need to put in at least 5. This is literally free money, and leaving it on the table is the same as turning down a raise. Second, after the match, build your emergency fund if it's below 3 months of expenses. Without a cushion, any unexpected cost means you're pulling from investments at the worst possible time and potentially paying early withdrawal penalties on top of it. Third, if the emergency fund is covered and the match is captured, Roth ERA. The 2024 contribution limit is $7,000 per year. That's about $583 a month. If you can't hit that number yet, start with what you have. Even $200 a month in a Roth IRA over 30 years at an average 7% annual return becomes more than $200,000 in tax-free retirement income. Fourth, after maxing the Roth IRA, go back to your 401k and push toward the annual limit if you have money remaining. Fifth, once all of the above is covered, taxable brokerage account, real estate, other assets. That's a problem most people in this income range would genuinely love to have. I want you to do one specific thing right now, just one. Open your bank statement from last month, find every subscription, add up the total, write down the number. That's it. Don't cancel anything yet. Don't rewrite your budget. Just look at the number. Because when most people see that total for the first time, they're genuinely surprised. And that surprise is the beginning of a change. I also want to knock down a common objection I see in the comments all the time. These amounts are too small to matter. That's simply not true, and here's the math. $200 a month invested in a diversified index fund at an average 7% annual return. Over 25 years becomes more than $160,000. Add another $100 per month. You're looking at over $240,000. That's the difference between just surviving in retirement and actually having choices. And here's what most people don't fully grasp about compound growth. It's not linear. The first 10 years look modest, but between year 20 and year 30, your portfolio grows faster than everything you put in during all the years before. That's why starting now, even with small amounts, matters more than starting later with large ones. One more thing that almost nobody talks about: automation. Any system that requires you to consciously decide every month to move money into investments will eventually fail. We have limited willpower. We get distracted. We rationalize. We delay. That's just how human psychology works, and there's no shame in it. So the entire system we talked about today needs to run on autopilot. As soon as you've identified the amount, Set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to your investment account. Schedule it for the same day as payday or the day after. Before the money has a chance to settle into your mental picture of what I have available to spend. This is the only reliable approach. Most major platforms, yes, Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, let you set up automatic contributions directly from your bank account. It takes about 10 minutes to configure once, and then the system runs itself. I also want to flag a very common mistake people make when they start this process. They find an extra $200, and they think I can afford a little more, and they spend it. This is a completely normal psychological response called lifestyle creep. When available money increases, spending tends to rise right along with it, often without any conscious decision. The only real defense against lifestyle creep is automation before the money hits your checking account. If you optimized your W-4 and now you're getting 120 more per paycheck, go to HR next week and set up a direct contribution so that 120 goes straight to your 401k or a separate savings account. You don't see it, you don't spend it. Let's bring everything together. 1. Subscription audit. Finding and canceling what you don't use. Downgrading to lower tiers. Real savings between $50 and $150 a month. 2. Tax withholding optimization through your W-4 yes, instead of a big April refund. More money in each paycheck between $50 and $200 more every month. 3. Strategic debt payoff. Eliminating high-interest debt first, freeing up minimum payments, an extra $100 to $250 after each debt is gone. Total, somewhere between $200 and $400 a month that was already in your budget, hiding in plain sight. The biggest lesson from today's video isn't about subscriptions. It's not about taxes. And it's not even about debt. It's about realizing that building wealth doesn't always start with earning more. Sometimes it starts with seeing your money differently. Most people spend years waiting for a bigger salary, a better job, or the perfect time to invest. Meanwhile, hundreds of dollars are already sitting inside their current financial life, hiding in plain sight. The people who build wealth aren't always the people who make the most money. They're often the people who learn how to keep more of the money they already have. And now you know exactly where to start. If this video shifted how you're thinking about your finances, hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel grow. And if you want to go deeper, the next video covers how to choose between a Roth and a traditional IRA when you're earning between $50,000 and $80,000 a year. The answer is less obvious than most people think, and it could save you tens of thousands in taxes over the long run. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Last thing, if you do the subscription audit today and find an interesting number, drop it in the comments. I'm genuinely curious what people are discovering. See you in the next one.